After the NDA Parliamentary Party anonymously elected him as its leader, Prime Minister Modi met President Draupadi Murmu Friday and staked claim to form the government. Heading a coalition in which the BJP for the first time under his leadership lacks majority, Modi, who will be sworn in as Prime Minister for a third consecutive term, a ceremony in Rashtrapati Bhavan at 7:15 pm Sunday, said we need a majority to form the government, but there should be consensus to run the country. Describing the NDA as an organic alliance for which the seed was sown by its leaders 3 decades ago and nurtured by people with trust, he said it will strive to ensure unanimity in all decisions for the next government. Addressing the NDA meeting before leaders headed to Rashtrapati Bhavan, Modi said, I assured the people of the country that the majority they gave us to run the government, it will be our effort that we will strive towards consensus and leave no stone unturned towards taking the country forward. Later, emerging from Rashtrapati Bhavan, he told reporters there was an NDA meeting this morning. NDA members have chosen me once again. They have supported me again. The president called me today. Okay. On the first day of his third term in office on Monday, Prime Minister Modi is expected to meet visiting foreign leaders who will come on the swearing-in ceremony Sunday. The most significant among them will be Maldives President Mohamed Muizzu if he chooses to attend the ceremony despite the setback in bilateral ties. A Maldives government official told the Express that President Muizzu is expected to attend Prime Minister Modi's swearing-in ceremony. This was not Pakistan losing to India B, it was Pakistan losing to India H1B. This was the popular take on Friday at Dales, where USA shocked one-time world champion Pakistan in a nail-biting super over finish in a group game of the World T20. With this, with as many as 6 cricketers of Indian descent, most of them at temporary H1B visas that allow companies to hire their overseas employees featuring in the historic win, the joke would be a hit in the immigrant community. Almost everyone had a role in scripting a historic day for American cricket. The ripples of joy spilled so far as Delhi and Mumbai, Anand in Gujarat and Chikmagaluru in Karnataka. Their stories are diverse. The super over hero Saurabh Netravalkar has packed his bags from Mumbai to San Francisco for higher studies. Player of the match and batting hero Monang Patel has left Anand in 2016 for New Jersey to start a restaurant after he realized his cricket career was going nowhere. 3 wicket hero Noshtus, born in Alabama but raised in Nilgiris and Bengaluru, returned to US to work as a biological technician. Milind Kumar, who took a binding catch in the super over, has represented a clutch of domestic sides before quitting his job in ONGC and flying to Houston, where he had been playing league cricket. Nitish Kumar, whose last ball 4 tied the game, was born in Ontario, Canada but shifted to the US during a torrid phase during the pandemic. Left-arm spinner Harmeet Singh, whose action was linked to Bishan Singh Bedi, left India as a shattered man after setbacks and rejections, including an alleged match fixing scandal, although the board eventually cleared him. Jasdeep Singh spent most of his life shuttling between New Jersey and Chandigarh before settling down in the US. The Reserve Bank of India Friday left the repo rate, the rate at which it lends to banks, unchanged at 6.5% on concerns over rise in food inflation and revised upwards the real gross domestic product growth projection for 24-25 to 7.2%. The central bank retained the FY22 consumer price index based inflation projection at 4.5% but indicated that it will fall below 4% during the July-September quarter. The members of the RBI's Monetary Policy Committee, which met over the last 3 days, decided to leave the key policy rate at 6.5% for the 8th consecutive time. However, a growing divergence in views within the MPC was visible this time, with 2 external members, Ashima Goel and Jayant R. Verma, voting to reduce the policy repo rate by 25 basic points. In the previous 2 monetary policy, Verma was the only MPC member to vote for the 25 basis points. With parliamentary personnel, National Security Guard commandos, drones and snipers at strategic locations, Rashtrapati Bhavan will be under a security blanket for Prime Minister Modi's swearing-in ceremony on Sunday, Delhi police officials said. Dignitaries from Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bhutan, Nepal, Mauritius and Seychelles are expected to attend the ceremony. The event will feature three-layered security. Delhi police is in the outer ring, paramilitary personnel in the middle, and internal security of the President's house in the inner ring. Around 2,500 personnel, including 5 companies of paramilitary forces and Delhi Armed Police officers, will be deployed. Snipers, armed police personnel, and drones will secure routes. The dignitaries will take, said officers. Roads in central Delhi may shut or while have traffic diversions on Sunday with enhanced checking at the borders from Sunday. Delhi Police Commissioner Sanjay Arora had issued orders prohibiting sub-conventional aerial platforms between June 9 and June 10. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra and Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra, held 1 year apart, were designed as a voter outreach and an exercise to build Rahul's image. In the constituencies along the route of the two yatras, the Congress and its India Bloc allies gained 41 seats. During the first yatra from September 22 to January 23, Rahul Gandhi addressed 12 public meetings and over 100 street corner meetings. He covered over 4,000 km across 75 districts and 71 Lok Sabha seats in 12 states and 2 UTs. Of these seats, the Congress contested 56 seats and won 23 this time. In 19, it contested 65 of these seats and won 15. The yatra started from Kanyakumari and ended in Kashmir. Meanwhile, the Congress India Bloc allies were in the fray in 14 of these seats this time and bagged 6. In 19, the allies contested 4 of the seats and won 2. The two constituencies of Srinagar and Bagpat were not contested by any of the India Bloc parties in 19. The second yatra covered 82 Lok Sabha seats from January 14 to March 16 this year. The Congress travelled from Imphal to Mumbai, almost 6,700 km, covered mostly by bus. Of the 82 seats, the Congress contested 49 seats and won 17. These. Senior BJP leader Amit Shah Friday asked Maharashtra Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis not to rush with his resignation from the state government and instead resume his duties. Fadnavis had offered to resign from the post over the party's poor performance in Maharashtra. Sources in the BJP said that Shah assured Fadnavis he would discuss the issues in detail after the swearing-in ceremony of PM Modi Sunday. According to sources, Fadnavis held a meeting with Shah in Delhi for an hour and a half late Thursday night. On Friday, they held another meeting. According to party insiders, in the meeting, Fadnavis explained his stand. Sources quoted Fadnavis saying the resignation moves was not an outcome of disappointment or anger, as he believed if he is freed from government role, it would enable him to dedicate full time for organizational work. It will give him time to get off the grassroots and ascertain the challenges confronting the party in Maharashtra. Earlier, Fadnavis had been to his residence in Nagpur Thursday morning, where top RSS leaders met him for a 2-hour-long meeting. An RSS leader said they discussed the political scenario and the challenges facing the BJP. JDU advisor KC Tyagi, who is also the party's national spokesperson, said Friday that the India Bloc that had refused to make party leader and Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar its national convener has been now making offers to make Nitish PM. He said the party had rejected the offer outright and was strongly with the NDA. Speaking to the Indian Express, Tyagi said such is the game of politics that who had refused to make Nitish Kumar India Bloc's national convener have been now making offers to make Nitish PM. He said it was because of ill treatment by Congress and other parties that Kumar was forced to return to NDA this January. Senior IAS officer Sujata Karthikeyan, wife of former bureaucrat and BJD chief Naveen Patnaik's aide VK Pandian, had proceeded on a childcare leave for a period of 6 months till November 26. This comes weeks after the Election Commission ordered her transfer from a Mission Shakti department to a non-public facing department following a complaint of alleged misuses of public office lodged by the BJP. Sujata was granted leave as her minor daughter is appearing for class 10th examination, said a notification issued by the State General Administration Department. The BJP, which won the recently concluded assembly polls in Odisha, had during the campaign lodged multiple complaints accusing her of actively participating in the election as BJD's front person. Known as one of the most powerful bureaucrats in Odisha, the 2000 batch Odisha cadre IAS officer was then ordered to be transferred by the poll panel. When she was posted in the Mission Shakti department, where she works for 6 years, the BJP alleged that the Mission Shakti's functionaries were threatening the self-help groups to stop their financial benefits if they failed to vote for the BJD. Inside the Central Hall of Parliament Friday, all key NDA leaders were present on the dais except one. Rashtriya Lokdal leader Jayant Chaudhary, TDP chief Chandrababu Naidu, JDU president Nitish Kumar, Shiv Sena's Eknath Shinde, LJP chief Chirag Paswan, Jan Sena parties Pawan Kalyan, JD leader HD Kumaraswamy, NCP's Ajit Pawar, HAM's Jitan Ram Manji and Apna Dal Anupriya Patel were sitting with Prime Minister Modi and other BJP leaders on the dais. But Jayant was in the third row with other MPs. Senior BJP leader Bhupendra Yadav, who was making the announcement, made a special mention of Chaudhary and urged the MPs to give him some hearty applause. Friday's NDA meeting threw enough hints on how the BJP was trying to accommodate the new reality of a coalition government. Yadav, who chanted "Tisri baar Modi Sarkar," was prodded by another leader to change this to "Tisri baar NDA Sarkar." The Punjab Police Friday booked suspended CISF Constable Kulvinder Kaur a day after she allegedly assaulted actor and BJP MP-elect Kangana Ranaut at Chandigarh airport. The police action comes even as some farmer outfits threw their weight behind her but added the entire sequence leading to the incident needs to be properly investigated. Based on a complaint lodged by the CISF, the Mohali police registered an FIR against Kulvinder Kaur under sections 323 and 341 of the Indian Penal Code. Both are bailable offences, and an officer said, adding, no arrest has been made yet. CISF Deputy Inspector General of Police Airport Security Vinay Kazla said they are conducting a thorough inquiry into the incident. He said that they found that Kulvinder Kaur had a clean record. I met with her husband, he is in shock, DIG Kazla said. Ranaut Thursday said she was hit in the face and abused by the constable during security check at the Chandigarh airport. The CISF immediately suspended the constable, who claimed she was upset with Ranaut over her remarks about women joining the farmer protest at Delhi borders against agriculture laws that were later repealed. The CISF had also ordered a court of inquiry into the incident. Mohali Police SHO Inspector Periwinkle Grewal said the matter is under investigation. On Friday, several farmer unions came out in support of Kulvinder Kaur, even as a Sanyukt Kisan Morcha leader Jagjit Singh Dhaliwal and Kisan Mazdoor Sangh Sangharsh Committee General Secretary Sarwan Singh Pandey met Punjab DGP Gaurav Yadav demanding a proper investigation into the matter. There should be no injustice to the constable. We have been assured that the investigation is being held in an impartial manner, Dhaliwal said. Earlier, addressing media with Pandey and some other farmers leaders, Dhaliwal announced that they will take out an Insaf March in Mohali on June 9 to demand that no injustice is done in this case with the constable. Punjab BJP Chief Sunil Jakhad meanwhile termed the incident as the most unfortunate and said any form of violence as a means of expressing dissent was unacceptable and demands The severe heatwave over north and central India in late May, when temperature neared the 50 degrees Celsius in Delhi and Rajasthan, was warmer than past heatwaves and strengthened by human-induced climate change, an analysis by European Union-funded organization has said. More than 37 cities in the two regions recorded temperatures above 45 degrees Celsius, leading to heat-related illness warning, said the analysis by Climameter. The researchers assessed past and present weather conditions such as atmospheric pressure at the surface, temperature and precipitation. They compared low pressure systems associated with meant weather such as cyclonic storms at the end of the 20th century and in recent decades when the effect of climate change have become more evident. The new Naidu. Less than a year ago, Chandrababu Naidu and his back to the wall and arrest has derailed his plans, and YSRCP's Jagan Mohan Reddy rode high. Pushkar Banakar, now on Naidu, scripted his comeback, ensuring a spectacular win for the TDP in Andhra Pradesh and place on the NDA high table. In November last year, with 6 months left to go for the simultaneous Lok Sabha and Assembly polls in Andhra Pradesh, Telugu Desam Party chief N. Chandrababu Naidu appeared at a rally in Kurnool, where he made an emotional appeal to the people. If you send me to the assembly only, then will Andhra Pradesh see development, else this will be my last election, he said. Many saw in the appeal, which came at the end of the tumultuous 5 years for Naidu and his party, the desperation of a man who was down and out and at 73 possibly starring at the end of his political career. Naidu had been trounced by Jagan Mohan Reddy's YSR Congress party in the previous elections. The TDP had gone down to 23 seats in the assembly and 3 in the Lok Sabha. And just when it seemed he was clawing his way back, Naidu was arrested in the Andhra Pradesh skill development case. Yet 6 months later, Naidu has managed to effect a stunning turnaround of fortunes, winning 136 of the 144 seats to come back as CM of the 4th time, while his allies Pawan Kalyan, Jan Sena and BJP have added 29 more seats. Reducing the YSRCP to 12 in the Lok Sabha elections, the TDP ended up with 16 seats, elevating the party to the second largest in the National Democratic Alliance and earning Naidu a key place in the coalition high table. On Friday, the Reserve Bank of India unveiled its latest bi-monthly monetary policy review and for the 8th time in a row decided that it would not change the benchmark policy rate, also called the repo rate. The repo rate is the interest rate at which the RBI lends money to the commercial banks. When RBI wants to incentivize economic activity in the broader economy, it reduces the repo rate, which makes it the cheaper for banks to borrow from it and lend onwards to customers. When it wanted to incentivize economic activity, it raises the repo rate, which makes it costly for everyone in the economy to borrow money. Movements in the repo rate thus have a significant impact on the EMIs you pay for your car, home or business loan. On June 4, as most of India had its eye on the results of the Lok Sabha elections, the National Testing Agency published the result in the National Eligibility cum Entrance Test Undergraduate, the competitive examination for admission to medical, dental and Ayush courses in government and private colleges. The result drew immediate attention for the extraordinarily large number of candidates who got the perfect score of 720 and for the reason that some candidates got 718 and 719 marks that the other claimed were not possible to get in the scheme of the exam. At least 2 petitions have been filed in the 2 high courts against the results. On June 1, a petition was filed in the Supreme Court asking that the examination be held again the ground that the question paper had been leaked. Last month, hearing another similar petition, the Supreme Court had declined to stay the publication of the results. Around 2.4 million candidates took the entrance examination held on May 5 in 571 cities, 14 of which were outside India. According to the latest available data, there are a total of 1,08,000 MBBS seats in more than 700 medical colleges across the country. Why has NEET UG 24 been so controversial? On Thursday, the NTA issued a press release clarifying some of the concerns that have been raised around the examination. A total of 67 examinees maxed the paper, achieving All India rank 1. There were 2 toppers last year and 1 3 and 1 in 20 this. As the Indian Express reported in the edition of June 6, 44 of the 67 toppers got the answer to a basic physics question wrong but were still given grace marks because an older version of the NCERT's class 12 textbook has a mistake. The provisional answer key released by NTA on May 29 picked the correct answer out of the choices given to the candidates, but more than 13,000 candidates challenged the key on the ground that the textbook contained information that pointed to a different answer. An NTA official told the Indian Express that it had been decided to not penalize these students since we strongly recommend all aspirants study only from NCERT textbook for their NEET preparation. In its press release, NTA also said that the number of candidates who appeared in the 24 exam was almost 3 lakh more than the 23 number, and the increase in candidates naturally led to increase in high scores due to a larger pool of candidates. Also, accordingly to the NTA official, the 24 NEET was comparatively easier than previous years. It was urged that the number after the maximum marks of 720, the next highest score possible was 716, and that mark of 718 and 719 did not make sense. The NTA explained in its press release that some candidates, including 6 of the toppers, had got compensatory marks for loss of time. Students from a few centers in Bahadurgarh, Delhi and Chhattisgarh complained that they did not get the allotted time to complete their test, and write petitions were filed before the High Court of Punjab and Haryana, Delhi and Chhattisgarh. According to the NTA release, a grievance redressal committee consisting of eminent experts from the field of examination and academia looked into these grievances on the basis of factual reports of the functionaries and CCTV footages from concerned exam centers. Thereafter, the loss of examination time was ascertained, and such candidates were compensated with marks based on their answering efficiency and time loss, as per the mechanism formula established by the Honorable Apex Court via its judgment dated 2018. According to the release, 1500 candidates were compensated, and the revised marks of such candidates vary from 20 to 720. Amongst these, the score of 2 candidates also happened to be 718 and 1719 marks respectively due to the compensatory marks. Questions have been raised over the publication of the result 10 days ahead of the scheduled date of June 14. However, according to the NTA, the results of all its examination are declared at the earliest of the completion of the necessary checks in the result processing post the answer key challenge period, and the result of NEET UG 24 has been processed as per the established procedure. The NTA has pointed out that it managed to declare the results of about 23 lakh candidates within 30 days, and the result of JEE 24 session 1 was declared in 11 days and of session 2 was declared in 15 days. Only 24 Muslims were elected to Lok Sabha this year, two fewer than 19 of the 24. Of the 21 MPs are from parties to the opposition India bloc. Congress has 9 Muslim MPs, followed by the Trinamool Congress with 5 and Samajwadi Party with 4 and Indian Union Muslim League with 1 and the National Conference at 1. Unaffiliated AIMIM has 1 Muslim MP, Party Chief Asaduddin Owaisi himself. 2 Muslim candidates have won as independents, Engineer Rashid from Baramulla and Mohammad Hanifa from Ladakh. The ruling NDA does not have a single Muslim MP. Muslims now account for only 4% of the Lok Sabha's total strength, the second lowest share ever. After a record 49 Muslim MPs were elected in 1980 and 45 Muslim MPs were elected in 1984, the numbers of Muslims in Lok Sabha has never once crossed 40. In the last 3 Lok Sabha elections, the proportion of Muslim MPs had dropped below 5%. The share of Muslims in India's population was around 14% in the census of 2011. How did exam paper leaks in the Hindi heartland become one of the top poll issues, and what does it say about India's young demographic? In 24 Lok Sabha election, results have thrown up several issues to the decoded around social engineering experiments stirred by political parties. It is a classic case to study to how the often mundane agendas of education and employment for young can become surpassing centerpieces of politics. Exam paper leaks and scam in UP, Rajasthan, MP and Bihar among other states have been a key concern for young voters in the age group of 18 to 25. An investigation by the Indian Express bears this out as 41 paper leaks over the last 5 years in the 15 states affected 1.4 crore job seekers who had applied for over 1 lakh vacancies. Why this translated into disappointment among the young voters needs to be understood, especially as exams continue to get cancelled and recruitment for state level government jobs is postponed. Large-scale examinations conducted through standardized testing are often considered to be a reliable mechanism in the educational framework. Globally, the model is known for the efficacy in saving time and administering tests through common rubrics in entry to higher education institutions. The well-known scholastic aptitude test and American college testing are also critiqued for testing individual knowledge within a limited curriculum and rote learning. Russia and China, which hold veto powers in the UN Security Council, raised concerns on Thursday with a US draft resolution that would back a proposal outlined by President Joe Biden for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The Council's only Arab member, Algeria, who signaled it was not ready to back the text, diplomat said a resolution needs at least 9 voters in favor and no vetoes to pass. Biden laid out a three-phase ceasefire plan for the Gaza Strip a week ago that he described as an Israeli initiative. The current draft welcomes the proposal, describes it as acceptable to Israel, calls upon Hamas to also accept it, and urges both parties to fully implement its terms without delay and without condition. But some members raised questions about whether Israel has actually accepted the plan and warned the councils to stick to a demand made in the March for an immediate truce and unconditional release of hostages, diplomat said. Russia proposed amendments to the US text which were seen by Reuters that included calling upon both Hamas and Israel to accept the proposal and demanding an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire respected by all parties. It also wants the draft to stress that the phase 1 ceasefire will remain in place as long as negotiations continues on phase 2, reflecting Biden's remark. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is a new setback to his election campaign, apologized on Friday for leaving D-Day commemorations early to give an interview in which he attacked the main opposition party. Sunak's decision not to stay at the event in northern France with other world leaders Thursday was met with dismay in Conservative Party, which opinion polls suggest faces the prospect of a heavy defeat in the national election in July. Labour Party leader Keir Starmer remained in Normandy for the duration of events and was seen talking to leaders including Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky. On reflection, it was a mistake not to stay longer and I have apologized for that. But I also don't think it is right to be political in the midst of D-Day commemoration, Sunak told reporters. The focus should rightly be on the veterans. Sunak said his plans has been set before the start of poll campaign. The Cricket World Cup is nothing without Pakistan. Whether they win or lose, the Pakistan cricket team adds spice to the tournament. The Babar Azam-led outfit started their 24 T20 World Cup campaign with a shock defeat against the USA in a super over in Dallas. It puts the former champions in familiar territory due to meet India in New York on Sunday. All their remaining group fixtures have now become must-win encounters if Pakistan are to advance to their Super 8s. This is not the first time they have started a big tournament poorly. In 1992 World Cup campaign, the loss against Bangladesh at the 99 ODI World Cup, the 2007 loss against Ireland and 2022 T20 World Cup loss against Zimbabwe, and the humbling against Afghanistan in Chennai in 23 are all upsets suffered by Pakistan at the biggest stage. Back in Pakistan, former cricketers have pulled out swords even before their first match, and now there is an absolute meltdown in YouTube channels and TV studios. Unfortunately, Pakistan never deserves to win, said former speedster Shoaib Akhtar on his YouTube channel. He added, disappointing loss for Pakistan. We are not off to a good start. Losing to the USA, we repeated history like we did against Bangladesh in the 99 World Cup. If history is anything to go by, calculators will be out, and after a win or two, comparison with Imran Khan's 92 side will begin. But will the fair style be repeated? Does Babar have it in him to turn things around? Babar looked visibly frustrated after Haris Rauf bowled a low full toss, which was put away for the 4 by USA's Nitish Kumar to send the match to the super over. Fakhar Zaman rushed towards his captain to claim him down before newly appointed coach Gary Kristen intervened. Former Pakistan captain Azhar Ali blamed poor preparation for team's dismal start. Leading up to this World Cup, T20 World Cup, things were not ideal for Pakistan. Azhar had told the Indian Express before the tournament, "When we are hurt, we always turn up as a strong unit. You can't rule out Pakistan in any big event, but in the current scenario, you can feel that not everything is well within the group. Off the field, there is too much drama. The home series against a weaker New Zealand side was bad, and even against Ireland, we did not play well. I won't be surprised if in the group matches a minnow team ends up beating Pakistan. The T20 format is very brutal. The field is level," he added persistently. The air pollution that the New Delhi experiences annually in the final months of the year could be one of the factors in deciding whether India's capital hosts the upcoming World Chess Championship this year. FIDE CEO Emil told the Indian Express India's 18-year-old challenger Gukesh will take on reigning world champion Ding Liren in the World Chess Championship for a chance to become the youngest world champion ever in history. Besides New Delhi, Chennai and Singapore are also in a three-city race to host the most prestigious events in chess. The World Championship is scheduled to be held in November and December 24 with the exact dates yet to be revealed. The pollution factor we do consider especially because that's not giving to be different this year. As good as the organization of the event could be, you cannot change the pollution and cannot predict if something happens. We are considering it as a factor. Air quality in the capital was alarmingly poor in those 2 months in 23. New Delhi was also in the middle of the storm last year when it was hosting the FIDE Women's Grand Prix, which had to be postponed by a day because this withdrew the 12-player event due to poor facilities given to the players. Some of the players had also returned to FIDE to postpone the event. In response to this, FIDE president had issued an apology to the players and had vowed to improve and sharpen the mechanism of selecting the host cities and venues for the tournaments.